Base is dropped on your Tuesday here at Soccer Down here. Let me fix my headroom, or at least fix my posture here. John here, others joining as we go this morning. And obviously it's Tuesday Thoughts. So whatever's on your mind this morning, we will go through it. Busy day in the Premier League yesterday. We will go through that, and we'll get you ready for all the other juice boxes that are going on today to finish up the return of Festive Fixtures, or at least day 1 and day 2 of Festive Fixtures. We'll get into that. We'll get into your standings and team news with activity going on. Prem and Proper will be back tomorrow late afternoon, considering that games are coming fast and furious over the next couple days, getting us into the new year. So Prem and Proper will be still once a week, but it'll be kind of all-encompassing, and we'll go through all the activity that's there. Also on the board this morning, we've got a signing that happened yesterday for Liverpool, and I learned a new word today. It's gazump. So I'll have to figure out what gazumping is. I have an idea because of the context of the sentence, but apparently Liverpool gazumped Manchester United in getting Cody Gakpo. And so we'll go over the numbers there and go over gossip, rumor, and innuendo and things left unsaid as we go. Starting tomorrow, what I wanted to do with all of you was kind of go through the year in and of itself, because it's a Wall Pass Wednesday and, topics are all over the board anyway. What I wanted to do was kind of go through the year, go through your superlatives, go through best ofs, those kinds of things. We'll get to that tomorrow here on Soccer's Morning Show. And we will just kind of all encompass the year to create a verb out of absolutely nothing. And what we'll do is we'll go through all of your thoughts on whatever your topics are. And we've also got to catch up on the holidays and find out if you got the pony that you asked for from Santa Claus and all those other kinds of gifts and things. So it'll be gifts. And good morning, Alex Pacine. I know that you had a pretty decent day yesterday, and you're chasing the top of the table. So we'll get into Newcastle coming up in just a little bit. And I know that some guy, Badger, I need to have Lake Orient and Stevenage on another screen. Admittedly, it's difficult here in South Alabama to do that kind of thing. I have, and just to kind of pull back the screen a little bit, I have only this one. I have my laptop, and that's about it. And I have my phone, obviously, but that is about the extent of it. And so I'm having to kind of fish for information as we go and figure out, okay, so what can I listen to? What can I watch? Those kinds of things. But regrettably, I am trying to monitor about 9,000 different things all at once, and can only do it with this laptop and this phone. So part of what Santa gave the mother-in-law was a better router. So hopefully in years past, I know that you guys are kind of wobbling through and looking at me almost through like a potato at times. But now the way that it's gone, we got an improved router, hopefully, and I'm sitting literally right next to it. It is, what is that about? It's about 3 feet to my left. So I'm hoping that the signal strength is going to help with a new router and same modem, but new router. So we'll see what happens. Maybe we need to get a new modem for the mother-in-law all the way through. And so, yeah, I'm fishing for information as best as I can. Our friends at Odds Portal kind of helped me through this situation when it comes to the activity that's going on, because I can kind of look at juice boxes, and since it does real time live scoring, I can sit here and go, okay, this is what it looks like here. And Lake Orient and Stevenage, by the way, goalless in the 83rd, so they get a handful of minutes to go, and it is goalless, and we can talk about lower divisions and all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of what this week is. It's evolving into other, obviously it's the end of the year stuff, but we've also got, like I said, we got festive fixtures. We got the January window coming up. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Player movement possibly in Major League Soccer outside of Atlanta United. And I know that the continuing saga of Alan Franco continues. because if it was a continuing saga and it wasn't continuing, then that would be a saga that stopped. But yeah, the Alan Franco situation, we'll keep an eye on that. We've got news out of Orlando to keep an eye on, and later on in the week, we can keep an eye on it through the prism of our buddy Nico Moreno. We'll catch up with him later this week because he had some news counter to what we were seeing from Tom Bogert, about Pedro Gallese. So we'll get into the Pedro Gallese situation coming up in just a little bit, and all of the activities that are working our way through today. So, all right, let's get into, as I was trying to sit here and think of my rundown. Yesterday in the Premier League, we had a handful of matches. We had more than a handful of matches, almost 2 handfuls of matches, getting you ready for the activity today. And getting into what we saw in the Premier League yesterday, big day for some guy named Miguel Almiron and Newcastle. I know that Alex is happy about that. We have the 2 matches today, one at 12:30 and one at 3 o'clock. And the juice boxes right now, obviously, Chelsea hosting Bournemouth. Chelsea's a minus 270. Your 90-minute draw is a plus 424. Bournemouth is basically a plus 780 to win in 90 minutes. 3 o'clock, Manchester United, Nottingham Forest. Manchester United at Old Trafford, obviously a big favorite at a minus 303. Your draw is a plus 480. And at Nottingham Forest is a plus 817. Tomorrow, the one match with Leeds and Manchester City. And that gets everyone through the cycle of having played once through the first round of festive fixtures. Manchester City, obviously a big favorite at Elland Road tomorrow at 3 o'clock. But the 2 matches today, but let's get into all of the matches that happened yesterday and work our way through them. Early on, Brentford and Tottenham, remember, Brentford had a 2-0 lead, couldn't hang on to it, and ended up with a 2-2 draw. So Brentford and Spurs end up with a point each, and that was at a plus 268. Then you had the 4 matches at 10 o'clock, Brighton and Southampton, and I know that a lot of folks were concerned who are fans of national teams that had teams going deep into competition. And it's going to be a bit of an underlying theme, especially over the next week or so, as to how much playing time folks get, how much they're comfortable with, how healthy they are, what their conditioning is. And I know a lot of folks were looking at Alexis yesterday with Brighton, but Brighton had a bit of an early concern with Southampton, then put the pedal down and won 3-1. Pascal Gross's goal, if you haven't seen it, absolute banger. So Brighton goes on to win at Southampton at St. Mary's by the score of 3-1 at a plus 110. Newcastle knocking off Leicester 3-0. It wasn't even really that close. Sorry, Knicks. And Newcastle right now at a plus 116. They got the win. We'll go over the standings in just a little bit, and you will have to kind of look at it with matches played because some folks right now are 2 matches to the good when it comes to point differentials, and Manchester City is definitely one of those teams. Julian Lopetegui got a win at the death yesterday, winning 2-1 at a plus 204. And sorry, Tom Russo and our Evertonian brigade ropes you to 2-1 at a plus 204. So Wolves got a win, and they needed it badly at the bottom of the division in the relegation scrap. It doesn't really help them to get out of it. They're still in the middle of the relegation scrap, which his position's kind of changed a little bit. Fulham 3-0 over Crystal Palace. It wasn't that close. Alexander Mitrovic came up big, and that was at a plus 235. Liverpool and Aston Villa. This one wasn't close. Great goal by Bajcetic coming in. And we knew that both Liverpool and Arsenal would be having some youngins on the bench, and we got to see the benefits of that and the benefits of learning through these systems. Bajcetic scores only a handful of minutes in on his debut, and Liverpool gets the win over Aston Villa by the score of 3-1 at a minus 137. Then your last game of the day at 3 o'clock, Arsenal over West Ham. But West Ham, they were in control, and then all of a sudden we've seen what Arsenal's been able to do. Arsenal put the pedal down, and they got the win by the score of 3-1 at a minus 182. So those 7 matches yesterday get us into the standings on the board. And yes, and the important thing is that Newcastle, Alex, yes, we will get into We will get into that. No question about it. The important thing is that Newcastle's like 1 or 2 wins from being statistically safe from relegation. Yes. And it's amazing what happens when you invest. Strange how that works. I mean, we've been talking about Mike Ashley, making fun of Mike Ashley for years here at the network. But, when you have folks that invest, and I know that I think Eddie Howe, said he was only going to be given, $15 million to look at in the January window. Wasn't going to be a complete and total overhaul or anything like that, but just maybe adding a piece here or a piece there. But, so, you tip your hat to Newcastle, getting the standings in just a little bit, and KFC, the tragic flailing Pickfords, no doubt about it. And I wonder how much the leash is going to be for a guy like Frank Lampard. And you're looking at folks at the bottom, and you wonder, okay, how much faith do we have in these guys? But that's where we are right now. Premier League standings going into today. Remember, like I said, we only have the 2 matchups today and the one tomorrow to get everybody cycled through. Arsenal on top at 40 points. They've won 4 in a row. Only lost once in their first 15. Can they keep up the pace? That, to me, is the bigger question here. Can they keep up the pace with what they've done so far in the first 15, with other competitions going on and all that kind of stuff? Newcastle right now, and Alex, hit your trumpets and everything else that you want to hit. 16 matches played. They've only lost once. 6 draws, by the way. They've won 6 in a row. 9-6-1 on the year. 33 points. But Manchester City has 2 matches in hand. So, in theory, Manchester City, if they win, obviously, they'll go back to being number 2 in the standings at 35 points. But right now, 14 matches played, and there are a handful of teams that have only played 14. Manchester City's at 32 points. Spurs are at 30 points right now, and they're hitting every column, 1-1 and 1 in their last 3. Draw last time out, they're at 16 matches played with the draw with Brentford, 30 points. Manchester United, another one of those teams that's only played 14 so far. They're at 26. They've won 2 of 3. They've won 3 of 5. Liverpool, once again, having played their 15th match. And like I said, this is where the numbers are kind of skewed. So we have to do matches played and points just to kind of give everybody the idea as to where everybody is. Liverpool's at 25 points. They've won 3 in a row. And like I said, we'll get into the Cody Gakpo signing in just a little bit. Brighton, with their win, they've won 3 of 4. And I think it's the 4th win under De Zerbi in 11 matches. 3 of those coming in their last 4 matches themselves. So Brighton's 7th at 24 points. Fulham snapped a 2-game losing streak. They're at 22. They're in 8th. Chelsea has only played 14 matches. They have lost 3 in a row. Graham Potter has the faith of the owners, Todd Bowley, and the consortium. So after the recent run of form, you're 6-3-5. You've only scored 17 goals in 14 matches. You're 9th right now at 21 points. Brentford's drawn 3 of their last 4. They're in 10th place right now at 20 points. Crystal Palace, with their loss yesterday, they've lost 2 in a row. They're at 19 points. They're in 11th. Villa is they had a 2-game win streak snapped, and so they are at 18 points. Leicester's at 17 points. They had won 3 of 4 going into yesterday. Bournemouth still waiting once again for their 15th match of the year, 16th match of the year. They lost 4 in a row. Last time out, they got a win, so they snapped that 4-game losing streak. Leeds is another one, the last one on the grid that's only played 14 matches, so they can make up some points. They're at 15 points. They'd won 2 in a row. Last time out, they lost a match. So 14 matches played, 15 points. West Ham has lost 4 in a row. David Moyes. How much faith does the front office have in David Moyes going forward? They're at 14 points. They've lost 10 of those 16 matches that they have played this year. 4 wins, 2 draws, 10 losses for West Ham this season at 14 points. Everton's lost 3 in a row. They are at 14 points also, just outside the relegation zone. And your relegation fight right now is Wolves at 13 points, ahead of Forest on goal difference. And Forest has 1 less match played. They've played 15, where Wolves have played 16. Nottingham Forest 3-4-8. Wolves at 3-4-9. Forest have given up 30 goals in 15 matches. Dean Henderson has been part and parcel to a shooting gallery. And if it hadn't been, frankly, for Dean Henderson, Forest to be a lot worse off. They've won 2 of their last 4, by the way, to get to 13 points. Southampton has lost 4 in a row. They've lost 10 of their 16 matches this year. They've only scored 14 goals. They've given up 30 in 16 matches. So right now, your relegation fight, honestly, we can go to 12th, let's say. 12th to the bottom, separated by 6 points. Villa at 18, Leicester, Bournemouth, Leeds, West Ham, Everton at 14 points, Wolves and Forest at 13, Southampton is at 12. So there's still a lot of leeway here. And yeah, KFC, Frank looked bewildered. So you just wonder how much faith they're going to give, how much of a leash they're going to give Frank Lampard, frankly. So we'll keep an eye on that. And so Emilio, he had to pick a Premier League team with a blank for a keeper, and that's the beauty of the stars here when it comes to translating and saying with folks. Thank Piscine. Everton's a complete enigma. No reason for them to be where they are for the last 2 seasons. It boggles the mind. Yeah, it does. But when you look at the talent that they had, and then moving Richarlison on to Spurs, the talent is there, and you just wonder what's going on. And I know that our resident Evertonians probably can give us answers to this, but it's just a very, very interesting. It's an interesting test case. I mean, is it the message? Is it the messenger? Is it something else? I mean, is it choice D? Is it all the above? I leave it to you, Evertonians. So, what is it that is continuing the languishing, for 2 present participles in a sentence? What is it that's keeping Everton where they are? And that's the biggest question. Why is Everton where they are? And we look at the idea that Everton, I think, is they're trying to find new ownership and things like that, but that's kind of separate, and that's over here in column C. But you just wonder what's going on with Everton. And honestly, Emilio Pickford has a Weasley face, and he's a dirty player. And I would also posit, though, Emilio, that if you didn't have Jordan Pickford, you might be even worse off. But yeah, just the firepower isn't there. You're not scoring up top. The guy that you had that was giving you all of those opportunities in Richarlison, he's not there anymore, and he's off in greener pastures. But I wonder what's wrong with the message and the messenger and what's going on at Everton. Because, I mean, legitimately, Everton, 3-5-8, you've only scored 12 goals in the 16 matches that you've played so far. That puts you, 12 goals scored in 16 matches. That puts you 18th in offense in the Premier League. Wolves have scored 10. And a lot of that came yesterday. And Forest have only scored 11, and that's been part of the issue, where they will continue to throw money at the problem for Steve Cooper and Nottingham Forest. It's just 10 goals Wolves, 11 goals Forest, 12 goals Everton, 13 goals West Ham. What do they all have in common? 16, 17, 18, well, specifically 18, 19, 17, 16 when it comes to the standings. Crystal Palace, they've scored, and Southampton has scored 14. They're dead last. Crystal Palace has scored 15, and they're in 11. So they're your anomaly at present. But the 5 lowest scoring teams in the Premier League are 18th, 19th, 17th, 16th, and 20th. And you can have a keeper like Jordan Pickford. You've given up 19 goals if you're Everton, and that puts you 7th, legitimately 7th or 8th. Hang on, let me do math here once again. It's early in the morning, so Arsenal's given up 12. Newcastle's given up 11. Manchester City has given up 14. Liverpool's given up 18. Chelsea's given up 17. And, yeah, so that puts you 15th, or, well, 6th. It puts you 6th in goals allowed in the Premier League this year. So if it wasn't for Jordan Pickford, it would be even worse. And, it's whew. And, all right. So here's your question for the morning. Who goes down? And this is morning, Abby. I think my Hanukkah gelt got hijacked. And so it was in the car, and then it somehow mysteriously appeared in the mother-in-law's kitchen. So I don't know what happened, but my Hanukkah gelt may have been hijacked. Here's the question for the morning for those of you who are Premier League followers. Who goes down? No, it wasn't. I don't think it was Patty. It might have been the mother-in-law. So we'll see. Who goes down? Give me the three. Give me the three teams that go down in the Premier League, and tell me who goes down and who staves it off. Who's right there on the edge, and who goes down. So that's the question for the morning. And so the beautiful thing about banners is that we can sit there and go, who goes down. All right. So once again, so the beauty of typing here in front of a computer. So, all right, there we go. And so there we go. All right. So that's your question for the morning. Who goes down in the Prem? That's your question. So I'm leaning toward Southampton. I'm leaning toward Forest as much as I'd like to see them stay up just because they're new. And who's my third? Right now I'll go chalk. I'll go Wolves, Forest, and Southampton. But with all of those folks that are just hanging around right there, I mean, Bournemouth is only a win away. Leeds is only 2 points away. I think Leeds is better. I think Leeds will win a lot of games at home. And so I think Leeds will be safe. Bournemouth, I have questions. West Ham right now, I have questions. Everton, obviously, for the second or third year in a row, I've got questions. But I'll go chalk right now. We'll go Wolves, Southampton, and Forest. And then they'll sit there and they'll go with the joke. So Southampton with Abby, don't think they'll get anything to get them up higher. Southampton just worries me with, and you wonder about somebody like James Ward-Prowse. Is he going to want to continue to stay in the January window if things aren't looking good? Because you know that there'll be suitors for his spot kick ability. Nottingham Forest will not get up, and then we can sit there and look at the joke and go, okay, here's the deal. They have more transfers than points, and right now they're halfway there. So we'll see what happens with Nottingham Forest. But yeah, right now that's what I'm looking at. Like I said, I'm looking at chalk, but there are some folks that are hanging around out there. You're sitting there and you're going, Abby. Wolves also unsure about the third team. Big. Oh, Emilio, that would not surprise me. If you see somebody at the bottom, in the bottom 6 or 7. Let's see what other retreads could be there. Yeah, I mean, Big Sam, Steve Bruce, Roy Hodgson, Ari Redknapp. A lot of those retreads. That's your second question. Is what I think, Abby. I think they will, but it's because I think teams are worse, not because they're better than folks, but it's because folks are worse. So, I mean, if that makes any sense. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Let's look at the juice boxes for that. But for Alex, here you go. And this is courtesy of our friend Ben Jacobs at CBS Sports. A year ago today, Newcastle were second bottom Now they're in second place. Following the draw with Manchester United on December 27th, they had 11 points. Now they have 33 and from 3 fewer games, December 27, 2021. So 11 points, and they have 33 and from 3 fewer games. Surprised that James Ward, Badger, I am too. And it's going to get to a point to where you just wonder if he kind of cuts his losses, Surprised James Ward-Prowse has stayed as long as he has, given Southampton's traditionally a selling club. Okay, well, all right, Abby. So here's what we'll do. We'll look at the odds, and this is, like I said, this is kind of doing things, kind of looking at things this way. All right, so here we go. All right, so we're looking at, on the interwebs, the relegation odds for the Premier League. And so we'll get into that. And so Bart Keeler is going to hang out with us here. So, Bart, we've been spending most of the morning. Oh, what's the mug, by the way?
I think it's the last one I had with y'all, but it's drink coffee, do good. So,
That is
it's been a while.
That is absolutely true. I just hope that the coffee.
Good morning, Abby.
And I just hope that the coffee is not the same as it was the last time that you had the mug there.
The coffee is the same. The mug might be different. The coffee is the same.
So you're drinking the same coffee that you had.
Oh, well, I guess it's new coffee, but it's the same coffee brand and everything.
Yeah, no, I was saying that if the coffee was the same.
Oh, no.
Last time that you had the mug on the show.
Oh, no.
Yeah, okay. So what we kind of got into this morning, and I know that you, as a Gooner, do not have this concern, is we were getting into the beginning of festive fixtures, and
yes.
we can get into the idea of festive fixtures as we go here in the discussion. Well, go ahead and filibuster on festive fixtures. I'm promoting the fact that it's the show.
Well, I think overall I like the idea of the festive fixtures. I like having the Boxing Day matches. I think that's a great way to keep people entertained and engaged in the league. I think this year is probably a little bit cruel to make the players play these matches this year. I think you could have just acknowledged that the time crunch from World Cup to league play was going to be a lot. And you could have just said, hey, you know what, instead of Boxing Day, we're just going to do it all on New Year's Day. And maybe, pull a college football, do it New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, since they both fall on a weekend. And that could be fun. I think that was probably what I would have done personally is stall the festive fixtures. I mean, you still have leagues that take that break. I think the break is good, but I also like the fact that the Premier League continues to play and give us that entertainment, because at the end of the day, that's what they're there for, right? Sports are entertainment, despite what people may think otherwise, unfortunately.
It's big business, Bart.
Yeah, it's a big entertainment business, and at the end of the day, their job is to give us entertainment and provide us that even during the holidays. So I was obviously I thought yesterday was a lot of fun. I don't think the matchups were particularly juicy. I think today's matchups are a little bit more fun, especially for an American soccer fan. But I think they could have done a slightly better job of pairing the two the matches together. But oh well, it was still a very good day of soccer. It was still fun to watch.
When your Arsenal was trailing, did you have a concern, or did you sit there and go, "Oh, it's West Ham, we'll be cool"?
No, because that was the only their goal came off of the only actual real attacking sequence they had. Also, they weren't really threatening, even when they had a couple of counterattacks. They weren't really threatening. And as I tweeted yesterday, I just don't know how much longer West Ham could sustain the be lucky game plan, because that's kind of what they were doing the whole first half, and they got lucky every time that they needed to get lucky, and then in the second half that luck ran out.
Is Martin Odegaard the ish right now?
How funny is it that two of the best players in the Premier League are guys who didn't make the World Cup? I mean, you've got Odegaard, you got Haaland, Norway itself, they're a pretty decent team, right? They've got good players. So the fact that they don't make World Cups is a little shocking. But you've got Serbia and teams like that going. That's stunning. But yeah, Martin Odegaard is I was so glad that we signed him permanently from Real Madrid because he fits the style that Arsenal wants to play, and I don't think he really would have performed well at Madrid, right? Real Madrid has a much different. I mean, not that there's not media pressure on Arsenal, but you're one of 27 clubs in London, so the media pressure is not as intense as it is in Madrid in La Liga, where you're the team. You're not even like you're the team, right? And obviously, I think Odegaard doesn't have that about him, but I love the fact that he's been our club captain. He's been performing so well. Like the dude is for real. The dude is for real.
Jarrett, good morning.
Good morning.
So I know that we're kind of talking Premier League right now, and
I'll see you later then.
No.
Yeah,
Jarrett, why did Paramount Plus and the Scottish Premiership drop the ball completely on putting their matches on Paramount Plus? Because Hearts is playing a very entertaining game, and I have to just watch it on FOTMOB.
Because I don't know, they make bad decisions. They pick weird games. They went through that stretch last week where they had the Aberdeen double, where Aberdeen had played both Old Firm games. The game against Celtic, where they tried to set the sport back 150 years, and then the game against Rangers, where they falconed it up. They gave up a goal. They were up 2-1, and they gave up a goal in the 93rd, 95th minute to lose. They pick weird games a lot of times, and Scotland is one of those places where you have deals like that. You get select games on like Sky Sports in Europe if you're watching, but otherwise the teams have their own individual subscription-based watching setups, and it's just so counterintuitive in the year of our Lord 2022, almost 2023.
As we learned with the Red TV experience that we got a couple of years ago for those who were season ticket holders. All right, so since you guys kind of went down the road of the SPFL, Jarrett, when you look at Rangers, Celtic, and everybody else, what are your thoughts?
People don't deserve this.
People don't deserve what,
no,
sir?
People don't deserve to hear about Scotland. But go on, finish your thought. Let's do it.
No, just it's like specifically is what's it going to take for somebody to get to Celtic and Rangers?
Who wants to give oil money to Hearts or Hibs or Aberdeen or I don't know, somebody weird like particular
one of the Dundees. That could be fun.
That would be fun just because they're literally right across the street from each other. Like you can throw a rock from one to the other.
You could probably buy both Dundees and make them Hearts and Rangers in a very short amount of time.
Oh God, they'd kill each other. that would turn.
Hey, make a Netflix special out of it, Jarrett. It'll be great. You can have dueling, competing Netflix specials.
That would turn into Boca Rivers overnight, especially if you gave them all of the money, because it literally is. You walk out of the stadium of one, and you look up, and and you can cross the street, and you're at the gates of the next stadium. They're right there. It would take somebody with like huge cash injection, like Oil Baron or a Sheik or something, buys another Scottish club, like the way they did with PSG back in the day, or Man City, that sort of thing. It would take that, because otherwise it's not going to happen. We discussed this yesterday because I was complaining about there's this false discussion that goes on about like Aberdeen sitting back and not playing against Celtic when Livingston's the same thing. The 2020 wage bills go as such. Celtic's wage bill in 2020 was about 870,000, I think.
Wow.
Aberdeen's was about 145,000, and Livingston's was about 40,000. So they're kind of different.
So I would I don't know, if I won the lottery, I would debate probably doing something like that for the Scottish League. But Jarrett, I know That we didn't do opening kickoff because I was waiting for you. I didn't know if you when you were coming in this morning.
Yeah, Badger Mountain. There's not enough oil money like in
No.
Aberdeen. And yeah, Aberdeen's an oil town.
Yes. It's like
you have tons of North Sea oil there, but you're talking like you need
but it's like
Middle
Galveston
Eastern
instead of
oil
Houston.
money. Yeah, you need like Middle Eastern oil money. Because it's more of like
Right.
the blue collar city, but blue collar with money because a lot of them work in the oil industry, which is fine. Like a lot of cities operate just fine that way. But yeah, it's not. You need a huge gas injection, but Aberdeen still does fancy themselves as the best of the rest. Now they're kind of struggling with that right now.
They're not. Yeah.
I mean, but for part of they went into the Christmas break in third place because they had done enough, and they've come out and lost 3 in a row, and they have questions. So it's interesting. But yeah, the wage bill difference in Scotland is so aggressively stark because yeah, like Celtic and Rangers aren't spending Prem League money, obviously, but they're spending an exponential amount more than everyone else. Like yeah, when Aberdeen has basically the third or fourth highest wage bill, basically usually the top wage bill outside the old firm. But then you have them making let's say 140,000. You have Livingston at 40,000. And yeah, like it's tougher. It's tougher to build.
Jared, this is when people talk about like MLS.
Sorry, Badger, I missed the joke.
This is when people talk. No, this is when people talk about like, oh, can MLS challenge leagues across the world? They fail to remember, and this is Scotland is the perfect example, but there are others. No, we're not challenging Celtic or Rangers, but like every other team in that league is going to be on par with the quality of a roster that an MLS team is going to have.
Yeah, I mean it is what it is.
You see, Robot Jarrett took over there when we got to that point, but
I think Robot Jarrett may have taken over me as well.
Yeah, nah, you're good. But since Bart, you decided to rightfully steer the ship back into its location here, since it is Tuesday thoughts and not Wall Pass Wednesday, where everything is on the table. I know that. Yes, you would think that Livingston would be doing better considering they're sponsored by Scotland's version of Olive Garden. Tony Macaroni. Tony Macaroni.
Tony Macaroni Arena. That's what the stadium is called. It is called the Spaghetti Hod. I will remind everyone of this to the end of time because it's literally perfect. The Spaghetti Hod.
The Spaghetti Hod. That's awesome. But Jared, we did not do opening kickoff because I was anticipating when you came in here for this Tuesday that you had something on your chest that you wished to get off of said chest. And since Bart steered us back onto the MLS way of thinking here,
let's just do it then.
We went from SPFL back to MLS. So Jarrett, opening kickoff, 40 minutes into the show, goes to you.
I mean, it's not even an opening kickoff right now, and you'll feel free, both of you, to interject at any given moment. I need everyone to just carry a compass with them and let me know what direction we're blowing in the wind, because I feel like it changes every 5 minutes. If you haven't seen the news, Alan Franco has been linked with a move to Brazil. Good for Alan Franco if the opportunity comes for him. I feel like he hasn't been as bad as people said he was, and apparently the narrative has shifted to him not being as bad as people said he was during the season when everybody was losing their minds. Alan Franco had this unique ability. When he did make his occasional error, he was always in a really bad time and a really bad space. It's very unfortunate. Ultimately, though, he's playing center back and doing what he can because he has to, because you're out of bodies at that point. You're playing at points. It's him and George Campbell because you got guys injured. You're bringing Alex DeJohn into games because Alex DeJohn is your 4th, 5th option center back because you're banged up. When did the narrative shift that we're mad that Alan Franco might leave? When did the narrative shift with George Campbell? Because I got lit up with plenty of messages and plenty of replies last year about how George Campbell wasn't that great, and how his inconsistency was a problem. And everybody wants to play the kids until the kids struggle, because they're going to struggle, because they're teenagers, because that's what they do. They have to learn. And I just don't know when the damn narrative changed, honestly, between we're mad at these guys and we don't like the build and it's a failure of a roster build, to, hey, these guys you may not like, guys you think aren't good enough, and you're complaining about them or complaining about their salary. They've been bought down out of that salary, and I get it, they're on a big number. Yeah, that guy might be out the door. Well, we're mad about it now. Pick him. Just pick a lane. It's okay. It's okay to pick a lane and to be, I didn't like this guy. He might be on the way out. Cool. I hope he does well. I didn't care for him, but I hope he has a good career, and it didn't fit here. That's an okay opinion to have. No one's mad at that. But for God's sakes, pick a lane, because I don't know how the wind is blowing every day anymore. I'm confused by it, honestly. Where do we sit with certain guys? Because God knows we saw plenty of complaining last season about guys like Alan Franco, who, especially at the end of the season, I thought he was really good to partner with Juanjo Peraza. And maybe that's when the winds changed on it. But if you didn't like the guy, if you don't like the roster build, if you don't like what the front office was doing, and they start making moves and they're freeing up money, then why are you still mad? At some point, you got to choose not to be mad, right? I mean, at some point, you got to make a conscious decision to, hey, I'm annoyed by the way things look right now. Okay, well, we're going to make changes. Why would you do that? Okay, well, we're getting an offer for a guy. Okay, well, why would you do that? Well, we're getting an offer for a guy, and we might decide to bring someone else in. I don't know. You're probably going to get a good amount of money coming back your way from this. So I don't know how the winds changed on this one. I missed that one. Maybe that's on me.
Bart.
Jared, I think personally, I've never been a huge fan of Alan Franco. I admit when he's played well. I admit when he, I'll be more than happy to point out when he's played poorly. It's okay to also just say, maybe he's not a great fit for the league. I think he plays a style of soccer that probably doesn't fit well in MLS from a center back perspective, and that's okay. Some guys aren't gonna fit in a league because their style of play doesn't match up well with the way the rest of the league plays. And that's kind of where I've felt with Alan Franco. Is you can see that he's a talented soccer player. But to your point too, it seems like all of his mistakes directly led to goals. He oftentimes, especially early in the season, decides to just not defend aerial duels. He oftentimes gets out of position. But I'll defend him a little bit from this past season and say that he was by far the most solid defender we had, especially when you were down both Gutman and Lennon, and so the dude was trying to play 7 positions, it felt like at times. And it's probably a little frustrating for him. But at the end of the day, I'm not saying we can get a better player, but I think we can find a better fit at center back for both this team and the league. And so moving him on a loan is probably good for all parties, because you can see, okay, does he fit at Sao Paulo or not? I think someone in the chat said Sao Paulo has money issues. They're in Brazil. Brazil just has money issues. So that's
like saying the day into the Y.
Right. Yes. Brazil doesn't know if they have money, period. Yes. But I think this is a good move for both parties, because now you've freed up a lot of cap space. You've got some GAM in the coffers with the George Campbell trade, and then whatever we traded last week for 170. A draft pick. That's what we got. Sorry. One of those assets that don't actually make any sense that we got a lot of money for. So you're talking about 2 center back spots that you can bring in that hopefully you can improve. Now, I'm concerned because you're, I think, expecting Miles Robinson to be good next season. I think we all expect Miles Robinson to eventually get back to where he was, but at what timeline that happens is a mystery and shouldn't be relied upon. So, I'm a little concerned that we're going to get rid of a guy who's been here for a couple of years and finally, as Jarrett said, toward the end of last season, was playing very well for the team. That to me is a concern, but I don't think losing Alan Franco is going to somehow affect us overall. Y'all, we still finished out of the playoffs last year, And I'm going to continue to say this until proven otherwise. You are what your record says you are at some point. And last year, we were not a good soccer team. Flat out, end of story, full stop. And Alan Franco was part of that.
And I think that what you're looking at is twofold. I think you're looking at, and I know that this has also been a concern. I know that Emilio's mentioned it in the Twitch pitch, and other folks have as well, about Noah Cobb getting minutes, starting minutes, or whatever you want to phrase it. Noah Cobb, there is a lot of confidence in Noah Cobb. I do not anticipate that Noah Cobb will be a part of your starting center back pairing. I think that what you're doing is that you are going to get an experienced center back that fits the system that you're looking for. And there are center backs out there. Folks have been mentioning in the Twitch pitch, Alexander Kynes is out there as a free agent. And there are free agents out there. Do they fit the system? And then what you are looking for is that individual to be your third center back once Miles Robinson comes healthy. So I think that plus Noah Cobb, that's what you're looking at for your four. But it's the calendar is what you're staring at here, and bringing in that third experienced center back if Alan Franco goes, Jared.
So, and this is the thing, is like, I'm cool with however people feel about it in terms of like, if they're a fan of Franco, if they're not a fan and they're like, cool, he's moving on, great. That's fine. But if you weren't a fan of him, why are you up in arms about him possibly moving on? It could be, especially because it's December 27th.
Mm-hmm.
The offseason isn't over.
We have almost two full months.
Fully expect I will be now. If you get to February and they don't bring in another center back, I will be disappointed. But you are piling up a lot of extra money and clearing money off the books. And to Will's point, like some of the disappointment comes from you expected more from Franco because of what his wage bill was.
Yeah.
But you are freeing up the money to go get someone now, whether that's a guy with MLS experience at Collins or when you bring someone from outside.
Yep.
Aaron Long's not my preferred choice at this point.
Because he's still coming off an Achilles injury.
But he also I don't think
Aaron Long is that good anymore.
No, and I don't know how well he fits your system of I need a center back who's going to be able to play with the ball at his feet under pressure at any given moment.
Right.
He can't do that.
Yeah,
cannot.
That's kind of an issue.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what it is. Aaron Long has some solid skills. I think Aaron Long could play in MLS for the rest of his career and be a very good player. It needs to be the right fit and needs to have cover. But if you don't make a move before the start of the season for another center back, yeah, I'd be disappointed. Seriously disappointed. Because you're going to be thin as absolute hell. And I'm excited for Noah Cobb in the year of our Lord 2023. I'm expecting him to be like a fourth center back in this rotation.
Yes, right.
But with his, and we talked about this last week, Bart, with as many games and weird-ass competitions as you're putting these teams through in MLS next year, I don't just need a third center back. I want to aggregate this money and go get a better than third center back. I want another starting caliber center back.
Yes.
And I want them I want to be able to throw down a hammer in the training room and tell them, here's a hammer. The two of you that come out of it in one piece get to start this week, and we'll do it again next week. Y'all figure it out. Y'all fight it out. And that way I'm taking my best two to battle every week. And I have options if someone's out of form. I have options if someone's banged up. I don't want just a third center back. I want another very good center back. Now, maybe Alan Franco wasn't that fit here. But yeah, my main issue was the confusion of at what point do we just at what point does it flip of, okay, I'm not a fan. We don't like him. Okay, well, he may be loaned. Well, what are we going to do at center back? The window's not over.
Yeah.
It's not like this is the move you're making.
We don't play a match tomorrow, y'all.
And that's the thing is like, yeah, if I agree completely though, that if you get to February and you don't have another center back, yeah, absolutely. I will join you in being really frustrated and really aggravated, among many other adjectives, to describe my emotions on the whole thing. But you got time. You got time to make those moves.
And Jared, to your point, now is the time. Now is the time to offload what you might consider the fat on the team, right? Like you're trimming down the team. Again, I'm sorry, y'all. We did not make the playoffs last year. We've not made the playoffs 2 out of the last 3 years. So do you want to keep these players who have been consistently underperforming? Because my answer is no. I'm sorry. That's where I am this offseason. So if you're getting rid of these players in December, that leaves you 2 months, a month and a half to find guys to replace them. Now is the time to be getting rid of them.
And to Michael's point, yeah, I mean, you want to get into the midfield as well. I think you could find improvements in the midfield. I'm still a proponent, and Bart, I don't think we've talked about this, so I'll happily take your opinion on it. If you asked me to pick, all right, it's just still Christmas season. Let's pick a Christmas side that we're gonna juice box this on. I'm a proponent personally of sweet potato souffle with praline pecans on top.
Okay.
Wow.
My favorite side dish personally. I know I'm putting myself in an early grave, but I'm going to die happy, unlike some of you people. If you asked me to put a side dish on somebody else getting moved off this team, I'm putting that side dish on Marcelino Moreno.
Yeah.
I think he is a prime candidate to move within MLS. I think a place like Colorado or Salt Lake would be a very interesting place for him, where he can be that guy to pull the strings in a different setup. Just not working in Atlanta.
I mean, that's, again, we have not exactly been great with Marcelino Moreno as part of this team. Is that cause and effect? Probably not, but that's just the reality of his time here in Atlanta. I have not been a fan of Marcelino Moreno. I think when he has his special moments, they are fantastic to watch, but they are too few and far between for me to justify spending that much money on him. We're also looking at a lot of midfielders who I think should be moved out personally. I think there's one that you have to keep.
I'm still very much in the camp of, if you chose to move on, and I love Emerson Hyndman, if you chose to move on from him because he can't stay on the field, then fine.
I think you have to, and I'm with you. I love Emerson. I've always liked Emerson Hyndman.
Table.
Yep.
But you got to look at the price point.
I mean, sure, but someone will take him. I don't know if it'll be inside MLS, but someone will take him.
Colorado's
that's kind of where I feel.
Toys and misfitting pieces. I would send to Colorado in a heartbeat, and I bet you he would probably have maybe not an MLS All-11 season, but I thought he'd have a decent season there. I thought you could work with he and Almada on the field, with him playing more out left and not being asked to do everything, but just being asked to pop up in moments, and it didn't work last year. And I would still say that's one of your moves to move, get some money coming in. It sounds like Emerson Hyndman's going to be here this year. It sounds like Hazetu's going to be here this year. And who knows how that shakes out, that somebody decides, okay, we're going to move on from these guys and we're going to make changes. We don't know. It's still the end of December.
I think, honestly, for me, the one who I would have the least problem moving on from, I'm sorry, is Mateus Hazetu. I don't think he does a damn good thing on that field. I'm sorry. I really don't. You can talk to me about, underlying numbers, or he does this. No, he's terrible. I'm sorry. He does not do anything to make our offense better. All he does is pass the ball sideways or backwards. And I'm sorry. I know that's a jokingly Michael Bradley thing that he used to always just bet. He does. He doesn't have progressive passing. He doesn't score. He doesn't provide assists. What in the world are you doing on this soccer field for that amount of money? Because you know who can also do that? Amar Sejdic, and he's a hell of a lot cheaper. Sorry.
I know the last we saw, they were discussing an extension or a new contract with Amar Sejdic. Hopefully that comes through. Because I want Amar Sejdic here. Because if nothing else, to your point, he does really good work in that midfield, and it's going to be. I think if you moved Moreno, you open up the potential to really improve that midfield, to bring in somebody else. You have Santi Sosa, who finally, after coming back from injury at the end of last season, looked like the guy that you had in 2021. I thought. I don't know whether to make heads or tails of Franco Ibarra. I know they view him more as an 8, but it's not like. I feel like it's real. It's one of those weird things where, like, he doesn't have to be the same age as everyone else, but maybe they think of him as playing in front of a 6. I don't know what the game plan
Maybe
is.
when Boca said he's an 8, I was like, oh man, this is not the thing to say when people already want you fired. Because, brother, that is not it. I'm sorry.
He's a hell of a business. I mean, he was when he was at Argentinos Juniors in the Copa Diego Maradona. I think he led that competition in like duels won or like loose or like dual or loose balls won or tackles.
Yeah,
I mean, he was
something
an
like that.
absolute bulldog. You go back to the Seattle game in 2021, which is like for me that's his high point. He went into Seattle that day and played unconsciously and just hasn't been able to replicate it. But you've got a guy in Sosa who can do that. You've got Ozzy Alonso who looks like it's coming back. I think as far as the midfield goes, I'm still thinking Moreno is that guy who moves, and that's where you can make that improvement there. And with that, I dip out for a bit because I have to get back to the real world for a bit. Sorry.
Yes, it is the top of the hour. So Will, who is in North Alabama, by the way, our resident Huntsville City FC follower listener.
Well, good luck with some snow in the land of no snow.
Yeah, well, and so he has been commenting in the Twitch pitch about no one being able to drive in it, and I said that's pretty much commonplace in the entire Southeast. But Will brings up Luis Araujo. I'm not sure he ever came back 100% healthy from the injury that he got 20 minutes into the season.
I kind of agree. He definitely didn't look exactly like the player that we had when we first got him last season. I think the problem with Luis Araujo is that he costs a lot of money. So to move him, you're going to have to find someone who can afford him, which means it's probably not going to be inside the league. Like you could conceivably find a way to move Marcelino Moreno or Rossetto inside MLS. You know,
I think Moreno would be.
They're not on contracts. Yeah, they're not on terrible contracts that someone can't, find. Luis Araujo is going to cost a lot of money, so you're not looking at an MLS team to buy him. So you're going to have to go elsewhere. Which means that then you're going to have to personally inflate his price a little bit so that you make sure you get enough of that gam, tam, wham, thank you, ma'am, from Garber after the transfer. I think you have to keep him. I think at the end of the day, he presents a better threat than most any other player you can probably get right now, but he's not someone who I'm going to rely upon for 10 goals and assists because I just don't think the joke last year, actually it wasn't a joke, it's fact, but J. Sam Jones tweeted almost every single time about I think he almost had nearly 100 shots last year and 2 goals. Well, and you compare that to Hani Mukhtar, who is a very similar player, and he's doing a heck of a lot more with that.
Okay, where Luis Araujo is concerned, I think, and first and foremost, last home game of the season, I will go back to the press conference, the locker room opportunity that we were given. Luis stood at his locker and answered every question. He knows he's got to do better coming into 2023, and it's a matter of being clinical. And I think at times also you could tell that Luis Araujo wanted to put the team on his back, and I'm going to run about 4 different cliches here in about 30 seconds. That you could tell that he wanted to will the team forward. He was that guy that was kind of, motioning everyone forward. It's like, okay, guys, let's do this. And he wanted to put the team on his back at times when in his vision or his view, others weren't doing that were out there with him. So I will take a guy like Luis Araujo off the right-hand side who wants to set up that left foot and being more clinical. I know that when we were seeing this with Miguel Almiron a couple of years ago, it was the same kind of a thing. It's like it was turning into this running gag. It's like, okay, well, Miggy missed again. So we're seeing it with Luis Araujo. We saw that in 2022. I would posit that Luis is due for a comeback season. He needs it. The team needs it, and especially if Luis is looking for other pastures in a couple of years or what have you. I want guys like Luis Araujo that want to put a team on their back and want to continue even if you're struggling and what have you as a team. I want those kind of guys here. And to have him on the right-hand side, I'm looking forward to seeing what he'll do in 2023 to put 2022 behind him.
Yeah, I think that's your hope, right? Is that Hyman, goodness gracious, Luis Arujo. Sorry, I'm looking at transfer market right now to get contract dates and values, and that was what I was
Understood.
looking at. Anyway,
Yes.
Ludus Arujo, your hope is just like you said, right? Like he understands 2022 wasn't as good as it should be. 2023 should be better. I think we all see that he has capabilities of being better, and I think he has capabilities that can make this team better because he does provide a vertical threat in a number of different ways. He does attack defenders on the dribble, which can unsettle a defense as a whole, not just one defender, but you beat one, now you've unsettled the entire back line. So those are things that are positives. He does have to find a way to fit better with the players around him. And that was, I think, the biggest struggle that I had last season with him. To your point, John, yeah, I think he was trying to carry the team. I think he was trying to do too much, and he ended up playing by himself and not within the team as a whole. And that's where I think if you want to look at how he improves this year, it's doing those things. And scoring.
Looking
that
at
would
Luis,
be a good
yes,
thing. Score.
no doubt. Yeah, no doubt. Looking at Luis's numbers, courtesy of our friends at FBref, and this is percentiles, and so I'm having to do math early on a Tuesday morning, so bear with me. Last year, some of these numbers are not surprises. Top 6% in the league in non-penalty XG, top 1% in shots total, top 50% in NPXG plus XAG, whatever that mathematical problem is. Top quarter of the league in shot creating actions. Top 3% of the league in dribbles completed. Top 15% in touches outside of penalties. Top quarter in progressive passes received. Top 20% in tackles, which to me speaks to his game that you saw from him. And it's two-sided where you're getting that from Luis Arujo. You saw Luis Arujo and Thiago Almada doubling back on defense to help out from their positions. And so I also think having someone who's willing to run his off is the back of his front is definitely going to be something that you're going to want in this system, and other individuals need to match that. Like I said, that's just me.
Yeah, I think that's I'm going to build off of that, plus whatever Burn just put in the chat about he and Lennon not working well together. Luis Arujo looked pretty decent when he was playing on the left side. And that might be something we see more of this year, because I think wherever he is up front, he's providing a lot of good defensive pressure, which we know that Pineda wants to do. We know that Pineda wants to defend higher up the field. I think, again, there are qualities of Luis Arujo that warrant him being part of this team in 2023, and if not further. The problem is he has to do those. He is that level of player, right? He's not the coach needs to get more out of him. No, Luis Arujo needs to get more out of himself. He needs to focus more on the team. That's something that, again, I think is the biggest thing for me, is he needs to worry about playing within the system, not playing by himself. But he's that level of player where, especially in this league, coaching isn't really what we're worried about here. It's not Pineda going, hey, you need to do this, this, and this, because I'm sure Pineda's doing that. Yeah. It's Luis Arujo needs to buy into that and needs to find it within himself to play up to the potential that we see him.
And and I know that it seems like this morning, as we're looking in the Twitch pitch and in the timeline, it looks like the two commonalities are Marcelino Moreno, Emerson Hyndman. I think that those are the two commonalities that we're looking at here for concerns, if that's the word you want to use. Like I said, I think that Marcelino did not fit into what Gonzalo Pineda was looking for with his starting 11s late in the year. And obviously, and to be frustrated about wanting to contribute, completely understand that. And I think that, too, you're looking at the price point for Emerson Hyndman as your two things. And this is the point that I made yesterday, and I'll continue to make it, and then the two of you and Jared made the point this morning, is that we still have January to get things squared away before AmFam 2 on February 15th, and then getting ready for things on the 25th. Just because we don't see anything in the media doesn't mean, and like I said, this is going to be like 9 double negatives in a sentence, and my mom, the English major, is going to kill me. Just because we don't see things happening doesn't mean that they're not happening, if that makes any sense. Front offices do not
first off,
work
John,
with public purview.
English is an art. It's not a science.
Then I failed art class, brother.
But no, I 100% like we don't know what's going on. We only know about the Sao Paulo, Franco to Sao Paulo thing because Sao Paulo is talking about it. You haven't seen any English media reporting, English language media reporting on it. It's just been Portuguese reporting out of Brazil. So to your point, like clearly that's happening. It's just we're not doing it. You know, this. I mean, no offense to Doug, but he's probably not focused on is Alan Franco getting a transfer out right now. The man just celebrated Christmas with his family and had to watch Liverpool stress himself, you know, yesterday. So, you know, Doug, and that's not the type of reporting that Doug does because that's just it's harder to get that information from Atlanta United because most of this information comes both either from a player agent or from the club who has been contacting them. You know, when we hear, oh, Atlanta United is interested in something, that's usually coming from a player's camp or the club that is trying to sell the player. Yeah. Very rarely do these things get leaked out of Atlanta United. You know, and whenever Felipe has a scoop, it usually comes from the player side of things. So, you know, don't expect to have like we have heard that Atlanta United might be linked with Callens or with Aaron Long. To me, those are just because they're both free agent center backs in MLS. That's not because Atlanta United, and I'm sure Atlanta United is looking at them because, again, they are free agent center backs in MLS. Yes. That doesn't mean that it's we're seriously considering this or talking to them, you know. Doug, Felipe, you know, Sam, all those guys, they're not going to get that information because it doesn't come from this side of things. You know, it's not coming out of Atlanta United. So
they could get that side of they could get that information if they worked from the outside in.
Right. And so that's what you're going to have to do. That takes a lot more time and effort. And again, they're probably all taking a break for Christmas because it's the off season.
There's no such off season, sir.
I know.
There's
no off season from reporting. I'm aware. I'm sure Felipe is definitely taking a break. That man has been busy. So give him a little bit of a break this holiday season. But yeah, I mean, look, as Jarrett said, we have 2 months before the season starts. It is December 27th. We play an actual game that matters on February 25th. And I would even contend that game isn't that important because we see how much an early season MLS matchup actually matters. But I'm going to get killed for saying that, but I don't care. The point is, we have tons of time to get together the squad that can make the playoffs and to, like what Garth Lagerwey said at the Men and Blazers podcast recording, host a playoff match. Now, I don't know how that's going to happen because as I think I said on here, and I've said to many people, Garth wants to host a playoff match with a team that finished, 12th last year? Some people are going to have to change. I don't know how a certain person within this organization who has been leading mediocre teams for the past 4 years is going to deal with the president who actually wants to win soccer games. Because I do think very clearly there's a shift in focus from being a really good club, which I think Atlanta United has been and was established as being a really cool, big club, to actually winning. And I think that's where Garth is focusing our efforts now, is on winning. And I'm not quite sure how a certain person who makes player personnel decisions is gonna handle that, because I don't think he's been fully put to the fire when it comes to we need to win. That's just my personal opinion.
All right, so Eastern Conference, since you've opened this door with the Lagerwey quote. All right, so to host an opening round playoff game, that means that you're looking at what, 2-3? You're looking at 2-3-4 or 1-2-3, 1-2-3-4. That's what you're looking at? One gets a bye.
Yes.
2-6, 2-7, 3-6, and 4-5. Yep. All right, so let's take a look. This is the early, massively late 2022, way before the 2023 schedule. Look at the Eastern Conference. and we'll probably be doing this the more that players get added and things like that. So here we go. Philadelphia. We figured they're pretty much going to be one of the top 4 teams, yeah?
I think it's safe to say Philly's going to be top 4 next year.
Montreal. I got questions.
I don't know. They've lost very good players, and they have a new coach coming in who has not exactly been good in MLS. And we'll see if he actually cares about player health and safety this time around. I'm not going to put Montreal top 4. Let's just put it that way. I'll put them playoff, but I'm not putting them top 4.
NYC.
Also to be determined, but I feel more comfortable putting them in the top 4 because I still think they're a pretty decent team.
I don't think they ever
to be determined.
I don't think they ever recovered from losing Tati Castellanos. You losing Maxi Morales to Racing Club.
You're not wrong.
That means that obviously you have
No, I'm curious.
So
I have more confidence that NYC will be able to bring in players to replace those guys.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, CFG will do that with their pocketbook.
But
exactly. You're still having to play though with the massaging of the salary cap here in Major League Soccer. Red Bulls. I don't know.
I mean, let's just say yes because they're consistently always there.
Okay.
They're finishing top 7. I think that's fair.
Yes. Okay. So, all right. So, Red Bulls top 7. FC Cincinnati. Do they repeat what they did last year?
No, I think they're still a playoff team. I don't think that they're going to improve that much to be a top 4 team.
Inter Miami.
No. I think that was a fluke last year that made the playoffs, personally.
Agreed. Orlando, the purple team.
I think they can improve. Yeah. I think that they could be a team that could push for a top 4 spot.
But there are current discussions about the return of Pedro Gallese. And
if they don't have Pedro Gallese, they're not making the playoffs next year. Let's just put it that way. That man got them a lot of points, got them a trophy last year.
Yeah. Tom Bogert reported that there was a contract being agreed to, close to, signed to, renewed. Our buddy Nico Moreno, and we'll catch up with him later this week. Nico unearthed some things from his sources saying, picking up the Ticonderoga number 2 pencil and going, not so fast, my friend. So we'll keep an eye on the purple team. Columbus with Wilfred Nancy.
I think they can improve. I think they have talent in Columbus. I really do. I think they can improve, but I don't know if it's a top 4 finish.
Charlotte.
No.
I don't think they make the playoffs. They lost 18 matches last year. New England to me is a no.
I agree.
Chicago's a no. That gets you to Atlanta. Yeah, Chicago's a no. Toronto's an
Toronto's a. I think Toronto, if they're not making the playoffs next year, that's a serious problem. I think Atlanta and Toronto are the only team. I think Atlanta, Toronto, Columbus are the 3 non-playoff teams that can make the playoffs next year. Okay. I don't think it's DC. They're still a year or 2 away.
Yeah.
But I think that you're looking at Miami, Montreal, and I would say Orlando as teams that could fall out. Also, Cincinnati could fall out. I'm not quite sure what to make of them. They had one good year. That can happen in MLS. I don't know, but I think Orlando should be better. Will they? That's another story.
Toronto gave up 66 goals last year.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that didn't trigger with me until I just saw it. That's almost
the third most
goals
in the league. Yeah,
that's horrendous.
Third most in the league. Only DC and San Jose gave up more goals.
So
that's not great. No, that's not great.
No, it's not.
And they didn't score that many either. It's not like they were scoring a whole bunch either.
And when they did, they scored a bunches at home, and they didn't do it on the road.
Right.
And so that gave everybody at BMO something to stare at. And when they're on the road, it's like, okay, so what's this offensive team that we saw last week out? And then they don't do anything when they're on the road. Because now that and that was the way that I was going to do this. It's like, okay, for teams below the playoff line, they've got to equal the number of teams above the playoff line. So you did that. That was the qualification that I was staring at here. So you have Atlanta as anticipating moves and is currently structured as a playoff team, but with work to do to get a home match.
I mean, I think we have work to do to make the playoffs. Again, we finished 11th.
Mm-hmm.
We were not a good team last year. I will continue to repeat this until they prove me otherwise. Atlanta United is not a good soccer team right now. They're not. They have to improve to make the playoffs. But I think that looking at the talent they still have, that improvement is as simple as Luis Araujo actually scoring, Thiago Almada continuing to improve and being the guy who, that's as simple as it can get right there. Is you have Luis Araujo and Thiago Almada playing well, right? If those two things happen, Atlanta's playing. Obviously, we need to fill in center back. But again, those are moves that I am confident the team can make. I don't look at any other team. I mean, Charlotte just lost, what's his name? I don't know how they replaced him. What's it, Rios?
Yeah, Daniel Rios.
I'm not saying he was an integral part of their team a whole year old, but, that's a player that is a talent. I don't know how you replace that. I also think that they massively outperformed how they were supposed to play last year.
No question.
Personally, I don't think that what they did last year is replicable. But they do have a goal scorer in Swiderski, which is something that Atlanta doesn't. So that's number one for Atlanta, is find someone who will actually score goals.
So because when you score goals, that means that you're actually doing, you're putting the ball in the back of the net and you're making it difficult for folks to catch you.
Yeah. Okay. But I think Atlanta and Columbus both are teams that have the ability to improve. I think with Wilfried Nancy, Columbus already has improved.
Yeah.
You
mean with Caleb Porter not being there and shushing opposing supporters on the road, that kind of thing?
Yeah. Caleb Porter somehow is going to find a way into coaching with U.S. Soccer in the next couple months. So I don't want to talk about him too much because that'll make his name appear more often in searches.
Well, and Bernd actually makes a really good point. Stability in net. A lot of improvement can also come.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that our goalkeepers were the reason we lost games last year, because a lot has to happen for a goalkeeper to be the cause of a goal or the problem for the goal. But yeah, having Goose hopefully back to as what he was or close to it before he got injured, that should legitimately be a massive upgrade. Same with Miles Robinson. That, and that's again where I say we're not a good team. I'm talking about the team in 2022 that did not make the playoffs. I'm also talking about the fact that for the past 3 years we've underperformed where we would expect to be. But you get Goose, you get Miles back. Those are two defensive.
That's your spine.
Cornerstones that you can rely on. And again, you have Santi Sosa, who, as Jarrett pointed out, was playing fantastically at the end of last season. Toward the end of the last season, we had a lot of players playing well. Thiago was fantastic. Sosa was great. We finally had Gutman and Lennon both playing well. Those are positives. And if you have Gutman and Lennon playing well, you have Miles Robinson back to form, hopefully. You have Goose back to form, hopefully. And you have Santiago Sosa in front of them. That's a pretty good team that should allow the guys up front to be able to cook. And that's what we need from Araujo and from Almada, is let them have the space, the time, and the mental clearance to go be creative and go score goals. Also, Emilio Westberg is better than our goalkeepers were not good last year. I will not sit here and let anyone tell me that Rocco Rios Novo is the future of Atlanta United. He's the future in maybe 5 to 6 years, if that's what you want to say. But that man was fine. I will never once blame him for a goal. He had a couple bad goals, sure, but the homeboy was doing the best he could. All of our goalkeepers were doing the best they could. They're just not that great. That's where we were last year. Westberg is an improvement on all of them, I think. And maybe, we're looking at him starting a few games next year because we don't know where Hughes is.
I think so. And when you can go to this goes to our center back discussion. When you can call on someone, when you can tap a Quentin Westberg and go, and who's got MLS experience and drove Atlanta United crazy on multiple occasions when he was between the sticks for Toronto FC. When you can have that kind of experience join you and be there as a 1B, because we don't know. I mean, we've seen the documentaries and how Brad is trying to come back online as quickly as possible and be the polar bear that he's been. But when you can bring in a Quentin Westberg, I think that speaks to, okay, we know we're addressing our challenges one by one, and getting a Quentin Westberg, I think, was a solid pickup for Atlanta United.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think that he is. I mean, we did this with Shuttleworth, but I think Westberg is actually good compared to what Shuttleworth was when we signed him. He's still going to be your backup, and that's fine. But having an experienced MLS veteran as your backup is always a good thing. So, I think that is a positive. I still, and I think Jarrett, John, you and I, all of us, we kind of agree that Justin Garces is still a guy who I think can be the future goalkeeper for this club.
Right.
Again, that future is not now, and that's okay. But I think he's a guy who can be your future. We also have Vicente Reyes, who should be pretty good too. He's getting calls up to the U20 Chilean national team. So we just need to get to the point where Garces is 25, 26 years old, has a couple of years experience in the league, and can fully be ready to take over. I think that's your goal, right? Is how do you bridge the gap from Goose to Garces?
Mm-hmm.
Personally, this is my strategic vision, because I think Garces is a guy who can be very good for you in the long term.
Bart Keeler, GM, joining us on the show this morning for Atlanta United. When do you turn? Are you like working this week? Like legitimately?
I technically am working. I am trying to export an Illustrator file right now, so it's taking.
Oh, Adobe Illustrator, the bane of your existence. Yeah, Adobe Illustrator. That's so much fun when you're trying to export.
Yeah, it just takes forever.
Yeah, yes, it does. Michael, and the beauty of the Twitch pitch is that when we go down certain roads, folks will always chime in, and then we'll go off, and folks will bring us other thoughts. Niall, former co-host of Prem and Proper, Niall. Caleb Porter's annoying, but not as much as Jim Curtin. Curtin is a jerk, in my opinion.
Jim Curtin's a better coach right now than Caleb Porter, so there's the end all of that discussion.
he's allowed jerkness if he's.
I don't know if he's allowed, but he's better at coaching, so therefore he gets a little bit of clearance,
Yeah. Michael had Rocco's size will prohibit him from exceeding last year's performance, unfortunately for him.
I mean, again, I don't think he was great last year. I'm not going to tell you that he was good, but I'm also not going to sit here and tell you that the 20-year-old fifth-string goalkeeper was the reason we were losing games last year. It's just not. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's you got I'm gonna count something really quickly. Because it was I want to say was it 17 injuries involving 20 different players. I want to just see how many players Atlanta United used last year across the board. Who got minutes? And just as a
lot of guys.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's what I'm trying to count numbers.
But John, that's where when I'm talking about Atlanta United not being a good team. Again, I'm not saying that we suck. That's not my point. We were not a good team last year because we finished 11th. And MLS is an incredibly forgiving league, and at no point did we ever take any of the opportunities given to us, and that's because we were not a good team. That said, the way to being a good team or a playoff team this year is very, very easy, in my opinion. You have your injured players back.
Yeah,
that's what it turns into. You get your injured players back, and they're close to 100%. Again, I want people to be very cautious, though. Both Brad and Miles will not be even a year post-op when the season begins. The likelihood we see them playing full minutes before August, to me, would be that would be a lot. If you're talking about Miles starting and going 90 every single match, when he got hurt in, April of last year?
Yep.
That's asking a lot from a guy coming off an Achilles injury. Because that is different than an ACL. I want that to be very clear. ACL injuries are hard to recover from a physical standpoint in turn, because you're building up a lot of muscle, but you can recover. An Achilles is harder because of what you're limited to doing.
Right. 32 players saw action last year. 35 were on game day rosters. So that's the rundown of Atlanta United last year. So there were 3 that were on game day rosters that did not see action. 2 of them were keepers, Garces and Dylan Castanera. Before Dylan's injury, Noah Cobb was on a game day. 18 did not participate either. But yeah, 35 players were on game day rosters. 32 of them were given minutes last season. So that's what you're staring at with Atlanta United coming into 2023. And obviously, we still got time, but you mentioned, and it's once again the thing that we have to pay attention to here is with these injuries along your spine, bringing in quality players that can be that 1B that can help you along until your proposed 1A is back in line and can be the individual that they're looking for.
Right. And that's where the legit concern of selling off George Campbell, apparently loaning out Alan Franco comes, is because those guys would have been no duh replacements, if you will, for Miles. I mean, obviously Franco was starting, but George Campbell would have been a no duh stand-in for Miles Robinson. Obviously, Juanjo Parada, the walking thirst trap, will be a guy who you can plug in. But, Campbell would have been a guy who would have easily been a part of that starting rotation until Miles was fully healthy.
Mm-hmm. But I think also
there's some concern there because you don't have Alan Franco. Now you're filling in 2 starting spots as opposed to just one.
But I think that what this also does is, as your 4th center back, it presents the faith that the coaching staff has in Noah Cobb. And,
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And we've seen that, sometimes out of necessity, sometimes out of earning it during the week, that there's no fear in starting a George Campbell. I talked about yesterday, and I admit it was AmFam 1, and you're going up against Toluca, but the second half of AmFam 1, the right-hand side of your back line was Aiden McFadden and Noah Cobb.
Yeah.
And so when you have that kind of growth, then it's the reps and the experience are what you're looking at here.
Right.
The confidence that they have in those individuals is one thing, but once again, it's reps and just experience.
Well, and 100%, that's the silver lining of last year is Caleb Wiley, Aiden McFadden, Mosquera. These guys got a lot of minutes because they had to, especially with Wiley and McFadden. So that's a plus, right? Like that's the legitimate good thing is that those guys now have 1,000+ minutes in league play, or whatever they're at, something like 1,000. That's a good thing, So Caleb Wiley as your backup left back is of course he is, / backup left winger if you want. He's definitely a guy who you have zero problems calling off the bench because you had to start him last year. McFadden hopefully takes this and improves his game as well because he needs to improve. He was not great in a lot of his starting positions last year, and he has now that season of experience to hopefully work in the off season to get better, but also that experience to kind of rely on and say, yeah, okay, I feel more confident now. That's what you're hoping happens this year, is that the guys who had to play a lot of those spot starting fill-in roles use that experience to grow and make your whole team better.
3, 6, 9th in minutes last year. Caleb Wiley at just under 1,500. And Amar Sadic was number 10 last year with 23 matches played, 18 starts. Caleb Wiley had 18 starts as well in 26 matches. So, 2 of your top 10. And George Campbell was 11 in minutes last year. So, Caleb Wiley at 9, Sadic at 10, and George Campbell at 11. And you're hoping that those minutes continue to work your way forward, because we saw at times when the game state dictated to go with the 3-5-1, 5-3-1, however you want to call it.
Yeah.
Where you had Wiley on the left, you had Gutman as your striker back for lack of a better positional name. And there was no answer for Andrew Gutman at striker back. Then you had your two center backs and your right back in Brooks Lennon. So I mean, So when Will mentions yes, starting Wiley at left back and Gutman at striker. Well, but I mean, you could probably do that in some situations if it dictated to it. But I think that the 5-3-1-3-5-1, where you had Wiley striker back, two center backs, and Lennon. That really kind of freed things up a little bit. And then, by the way, Soccer for Good OG, Bart, thank you for acknowledging Purata's true contribution to the club.
Someone has to do it. I've been a long proponent of the fact that the handsome quotient does make your team better, and Juanjo Purata helps that.
Oh man, I needed a laugh.
Hey, play good, look good, right?
Well, yeah, because who was it? Well, because it's better to look good than to feel good. You know what I'm saying?
Sometimes, yes.
It is better to look good than to feel good, darling, because that is how things go, the way things. Man, I have been sitting. Okay, now I'm gonna pull back the curtain here a little bit. I'm gonna break the fourth wall for those.
Hey, you're not in your usual spot here, John.
No, I'm not. I'm in Ozark, Alabama.
This makes a lot of sense.
Yes,
wait, there's an Ozark, Alabama.
20 minutes north of Dalton.
So it's not near the Ozarks.
No. Let's see. All right. So if I am, all right. So I have to get my directions here. Let's see. Northwest would be that way as I'm pointing, and so I'm going.
Yeah, northwest would be the way toward the Ozarks, up 22.
Yeah, but it's like if I'm sitting in this particular position, where is my northwest? That's what I was trying to figure out. It's like, where's my northwest? It's like, so if my northwest. So I was like, north is one way. The northwest would be that way because I'm not sitting true north. I might be sitting true north as it's looking like it is here on the show, but northwest, legit northwest would be that way. North is that way. Atlanta is that way. And yeah, so like literally I'm about 90 degrees away from everything, but no, I am at the in-laws.
That makes sense. Okay.
I'm at the in-laws house, and I have been since Thursday. So we spent the Christmas holiday down here. Well, and we're leaving today once we put. Now, all right. So here we go. Here's your Tuesday thoughts, and this is more well past Wednesday, but this is where the show goes. All right. When it comes to your Christmas decorations, how long do they stay up? How long do you keep your tree? How long do you keep your decorations up?
Till January 6th, till Epiphany.
Okay, so that's how you're wired. Okay, the mother-in-law, once we get past Christmas, 25th, late 25th, early 26th, bam, pack it up and put it away.
Oh no! One, you put all that time and effort in putting them up. Why not enjoy them a little bit? My mother still has her little Christmas village. Not little, it's a massive Christmas village. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably saw it. A massive Christmas village that takes up the entire sitting room of the house. It stays up almost all year. Like it stays up it'll stay up through Valentine's Day because it just takes so much time to take down. So if you're going to go through all that time and effort, you might as well enjoy it. But I also have a fake tree, so I'm not worried about my tree dying out on them. So there's that. I'm team fake tree. That's called sustainability.
Okay, no, we are team real tree, and we also believe in recycling because
not mossy oak. Team real tree.
No, not that. I don't wear those kinds of things, sir. But no, we are team legit.
The only orange you got is that Auburn burnt orange. None of that blaze orange crap.
Well, hey, that's I am Auburn tolerant. I married into the conference. I am an ACC guy. I'm an ACC guy. I married into the conference.
Yeah.
So
you're rooting for Clemson in the Orange Bowl and the Battle of the Oranges?
Oh no. I'm rooting for
what a stage for those color schemes to go into.
I'm rooting for mutually assured destruction, sir. That's what I'm.
Menorahs are sustainable. You use them all the time. Yes, Badgermon. Like Abby, if you're in here too.
Yeah.
Abby, if you're in here, I appreciated the massive menorah display that you had throughout Hanukkah. That was beautiful.
Yeah. And so no, I root for Team Chaos most of the time. But the mere fact that you're going to have the Clemson orange and the Vol orange in the Orange Bowl, That is Team Irony, and I don't know if I can sustain that much laughter at the same time. But no, we're here. We're after the show. We're packing up the rest of the stuff, and that's because I'm the one that gets to take the team fake tree. The mother-in-law is team sustainability, but the boss has to take everything down off of said tree, and we have to put it into the storage lockers that bins things that are outside in the backyard. Because when you're team sustainability, you can do that. But no, it's like literally the 24th. It's like Christmas night. Everything starts getting packed up and put away and out the door. Did you, sir, get everything that was on your Christmas list? Did you get your pony?
Yeah. Did I get everything? Yeah, actually, I think I did, and some stuff that I didn't ask for but needed. The biggest thing I asked for this year was I needed a new food processor. And I also needed a new immersion blender. And so I got one of the food processor immersion blender combo units. So I got that. Congratulations to me.
What in the wide world of sports is an immersion blender? Do you become one with
the little stick thing that you stick into the stick that you stick into the soup, and
okay.
Instead of taking it from the pot into the blender and go into the blender like jug, and you can just keep it in the pot. And of course,
I had no earthly idea what in the wide world of sports that you were talking about. So,
all right, welcome to cooking down here.
But there's nothing wrong with that because I don't cook. I mean,
No, it's the biggest thing was I needed a new food processor. Mine stopped working, so I needed that to be able to shred cheese, slice vegetables, all that good stuff. But this was one that comes with the immersion blender attachment as well. So.
Okay, because as you well know, under no circumstance am I going to be an individual that will attempt to cook. We firmly believe in supporting our local merchants, and have done that the entire time. So, it's just I can't do it because you don't want things to be set on fire. You just don't. It's just no. You can't have that. All right, so. Let's go ahead and go to rumors down here. First off, Renzo Pantic, but remember, check your sources. Renzo, as a periodista, only has less than 4,000 followers. So keep that in mind, as this was posted in the Twitch pitch this morning. No, that is absolutely true. Soccer for Good OG. Don't try to involve me in anything remotely associated with cooking. It won't go well. That is absolutely true.
Oh, I know.
So Renzo and his 3,775 followers has come out with a rumor in the last half hour. Almada's agent, Agustin Jimenez, received offers from Europe and from two very important teams in Argentina. Player's intention is to continue his career in the old continent. For their part, their environment believes that it's time to leave MLS key week. So, all right. So
we're going to hear, guys, first off, we're going to hear these rumors about Thiago Almada all season long. Like, just like buckle in. That's a positive. I'm telling you, it's a positive. Like, the worst case scenario is we get a bunch of money. That's the worst case scenario. We get $30 million for the kid. 40. That's the worst case scenario. Best case scenario, we keep him through the end of the year. Like, so just buckle up. Buckle up. That's all I'm saying.
Yes. So
as long as we get to see the World Cup trophy, or they have a World Cup trophy celebration for the kid here in Atlanta,
home opener,
show off his new thigh tat. That's what matters.
Home opener, the World Cup trophy. But as always, and the one thing we always tell you this time of year, check your sources. I'm sure that Renzo means well, and we don't know where he heard it from, but he's less than 4,000 followers. So keep that in mind as we go through transfer windows, all these kinds of things. Make sure that you just keep that in mind. First and foremost, when you look at dude, or when you look at writer or TV personality or whatever, check the number of sources and who they're attached to. No offense to our gentleman friend Renzo, but Renzo just lists himself as a periodista without any kind of bylines or anything like that. So we'll keep an eye. And as Bart says, rumors are good. Transfer rumors are good things. But I think at the very least, Unless you get the offer you can't refuse. We see Thiago Almada through at the very least into the summer, and then we'll go from there. So I think one more year with Atlanta United, and then he goes, and it's probably $40 million, and everybody is happy and applauding because Thiago Almada has come to MLS. He has done what hopefully Atlanta United and fans wished that he has been brought in to do, and then he moves on to his greener pasture. So there you go. Okay, so you got your immersion blender, and you got those kinds of things that you were looking for. I was trying to sit there and think. Well, later on in the week. By the way, as the golden ticket status has evolved for you, sir. I hope you realize that just because we're here in the holiday season, it means that it doesn't just stop once we turn to the beginning of the calendar year. You're turning.
Well, then I might actually have to work though, John.
No, you don't want to do that. No,
hey, next month we've got U.S. women's national team friendlies and men's national team friendlies, and we may have a coaching update by Saturday.
Oh,
Saturday,
okay.
because according to Sam Seychelles and Paul Tenorio, Greg's contract ends December 31st of this year. So one way, shape, or form, we're going to hear an update.
Okay.
Can I talk a little bit about the Tab Ramos quotes that he kind of gave off in an interview? I forget who it was with an interview with, but
please proceed.
I think he was dead correct to talk about the fact that it's concerning and not good practice that nothing from the Federation has come out about coaching searches, about anything about Greg Berhalter since the World Cup. Even if it's just hey, we're really proud of the way the team performed this World Cup. Why has Sidney Parlow-Cohn not come out and said, at least release a statement or something saying, we're really proud of the way the team performed. Glad to be back at the World Cup. We're evaluating, we're thankful for Greg Berhalter for getting here, and we're evaluating all of our options right now. I mean, obviously, Abby, you and I, Jarrett and I, we're all kind of on the same page of we'd like a new coach. I do want people to be prepared for the fact that it is very, very likely that Greg Berhalter remains the coach through at least 2023. As I said on Soccer for Us at the end of the World Cup when we wrapped up, I think the goal is to have the coach you want for 2026 coaching your team at the 2024 Copa America. This year, though it's important because you have a Nations League final and a Gold Cup, it's not as important. And I hope whoever the coach is, by March even, you're not bringing in Pulisic, McKennie, Musa, those guys. Try to find new players that can truly raise the floor, because we can't bring Aaron Long and Christian Roldan to the next World Cup. We can't bring those levels of players. Even to an extent, we can't bring the Jesus Ferreira levels of players. We need to find how do we level up, and if it's those players themselves level up, that would be great. If Jesus Ferreira levels up, fantastic, love that. But we need to figure out how do we find players that raise the floor of the national team, because our ceiling's pretty high right now. And I don't think there's a player out there who raises our ceiling. Obviously, they would have been at the World Cup. But how do we raise the floor? That's my question. I definitely don't want Greg back, but I think it is very likely we see Greg for the next calendar year. And I'm sorry.
But I think it's safe to say that we are in the majority opinion here of not having a two-cycled coach.
Yes. Yeah. And again, I think the ones people say, oh, well, two-cycle coaches do well. That's usually because they did well the first cycle. Didier Deschamps led his team to 2 World Cup finals. Greg Berhalter going to do that. He led us to a round of 16, and we got beaten 3-1. So, let's not pretend like this was a success more than just we hit the benchmark. And I think people need to realize that. I'm hoping that MLS, good Lord, U.S. Soccer, I'm hoping U.S. Soccer realizes that they do need to go outside of MLS to find the next men's national team coach. That's what I was trying to say there. And I think that they need to realize that they have options if they're willing to put forth a decent amount of money. But you can't just go get Jurgen Klinsmann because he thinks that he can do it. Go find a coach who you believe will actually do a good job, who will be able to take this still young but very promising group of players. Because the fact of the matter is we still have young talents coming up through the pipeline. We still have guys in Europe who are very young who haven't been fully put into this team yet. So you need to find those guys as well. You don't just have the 26 you took to Qatar and now you're ready to go. There are players that you're going to have to cut, and there are players you're going to have to bring in. But you need to find an experienced coach who's willing to both implement a style of play but be flexible enough to make the whole team better.
Speaking of Didier Deschamps,
no, not Jesse Marsch. Not Jesse Marsch.
Stylistically, I don't think that's a fit. Speaking of Didier Deschamps, I don't know if you heard this morning. Karim Benzema's agent has claimed the forward would have been able to play for France from the World Cup round of 16 stage, but was sent home prematurely by Didier Deschamps and the team's medical staff. Benzema suffered a thigh injury in training November 19, 3 days before the World Cup defense was due to begin, with the French Football Federation saying he would need a 3-week recovery period. Deschamps, after consulting with France team Dr. Franck Legault, decided the injury required Benzema's withdrawal from the national team, with Benzema returning to train with Real Madrid and later retiring from international football. Quote, I've consulted 3 specialists who confirmed the diagnosis that Benzema could have been fit from the round of 16 to be on the bench at least, agent Karim Jaziri tweeted on Monday, sharing a video of the player's scan at a hospital in Qatar. Why did you ask him to leave so quickly? Jaziri has been outspoken in his criticism of the decision to send Benzema home a week after his departure. Quote, Benzema started running again, he tweeted on Sunday. After 4 days of training, he played 30 minutes in a friendly for Real Madrid. Keep on lying. The truth is coming, end quote. So, agent gonna agent.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he could or couldn't have, because I think it's very likely that he probably would have been okay enough. But there's no guarantee of that. That is, when doctors say this, that's probably them saying, yeah, best case scenario, he probably could have done that. We don't know. What if something would have gone wrong during his recovery time? You don't know. You don't know.
And then you would have been stuck, I think, with one less dude, right?
Yeah, I think so. And that's the thing for me that France didn't want to take that chance on, is because this happened to the U.S. where we brought guys who, Luca de la Torre is one that jumps out, who probably fit enough to play. And so now we're roster spot. Is there anyone else who is screaming for a roster spot over Luca de la Torre? No, sorry, but you're France. You have guys who can play at a World Cup level. And to be quite honest, Karim, they still made the final. Sorry.
Yeah. Agent gonna agent. We know this. Oh, I forgot to finish my my thought. Since as a host here for Soccer's Morning Show, it's like squirrel for me. All right, so I was trying to tell you where I was in relation to Office HD. I'm sitting on the floor in the office here.
Oh my Lord.
That's why it looks different. That's why it looks different. See, all right. So here's what I'm going to do. All right, so
that makes a lot of sense.
Camera on top of laptop. Here we go. So I'm kind of panning a little bit. There's the floor. There's the floor. There's me. Wow. And there's the floor. So yeah. So for these shows that have been here in Alabama, because there's no desk that is of an acceptable height. And so if I put the laptop on the desk, then I'm basically then the camera on the laptop is kind of looking up at me, and that's the last thing you want, because as you well know, Bart, it's all about angles. You have to make sure that the angles are correct. So yeah, but now this is the last day that we're here in Ozark, and we're heading home. So I'll be back in Office HD tomorrow. Let's see. Is there anything else on your mind this morning? How's Adobe Illustrator treating you?
Good. I got everything exported. I'm excited and uploaded. We're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cody Gakpo heading to
Cody Gakpo going to Liverpool. That's a big move for him. Big move for Liverpool. I don't know how it probably puts them pretty solidly in the top 4 now. Personally, I'm okay with saying that. I still am not going to go out there and say that this makes them a title contender this year at all.
No.
But yeah, I mean, I think you're looking at them now being able to get up into the top 4. That said, they're a few good many points behind the top 4, and I think that's where they're looking at it going. What are they? 5 points behind Tottenham. That's not a whole lot to make up, especially because Tottenham is going to continue to drop points because they refuse to play first halves of soccer. But there's a lot to make up for Liverpool, and I think Gakpo is a very good player, but is he the type of player who somehow now makes them a World Cup or a Premier League title contender? No, I don't think that's exactly what's going to happen right now. But it helps their chances this year.
Just to make sure that Darwin Nunez ends up putting the ball in the back of the net, maybe. We were getting into, courtesy of our friends at Odds Checker, since we were getting into the discussion about the relegation battle here during festive fixtures. Here's your leading contenders. Here's your top 5 for relegation. And I guess we have to do this with champagne instead of juice boxes. So champagne magnums, since we're getting close to the beginning of the year. Bournemouth is at a -150, leader in the clubhouse for relegation. Forest at a -120. Southampton at a +110. Everton is a +1.25, and Wolves are at a +150. Then everybody else from there is like +400 and beyond. So your top 5.
Bournemouth is the leader.
Yeah. Yeah, -150 according to our friends at Bet365. Then it's Forest, Southampton, Everton, and Wolves. So that's your top 5 for relegation right now, according to Odds Checker.
Personally, I think West Ham and Everton have the most to worry about because they continue to not get points when they need it. And looking at the table, they are a full game ahead of Forest.
Yeah.
2 games ahead of teams like Leeds, and a game ahead of Bournemouth. Yeah. I don't know if I would put Bournemouth as the top likely to get relegated. I think that's
Southampton.
Southampton, Nottingham Forest, and Wolves are the 3 in the. I don't think Southampton recovers. They're just not good enough. Forest hasn't proven that they can consistently do anything in the Premier League.
Other than bring players in.
Yeah. I think that's why people just assume that they're going to be better, but I'll hold my breath on that one. I do think we're going to see a West Ham or Everton relegated.
Okay.
That's my prediction. One of those 2 are going down.
Okay.
I don't know which one. Wolves are also pretty bad, but hey, they've got a new manager. Hopefully they can figure that out.
Yep.
I think West Ham or Everton might get relegated.
Okay. Question also on the board from Killafragzilla. What are your thoughts on Jean Duran being linked with clubs in Europe? That's a good thing for Major League Soccer, regardless of where the club is. When you're in your teens and you're being linked to Europe, that is a good thing for both the player, the team, and the league.
Yeah. And, I think if you're Chicago, you hate to lose another talented player.
Yep.
You lose Slonina, now Duran, but eventually that'll come pay off for you. It's kind of where I'm at. Is eventually getting good players, selling them off will help you because now you can hopefully buy better players that maybe stick around a little bit longer.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, look, MLS, this is where we need to be.
And so once again, you see young players being tied to clubs in Europe. It's always a good thing. So that's where that is. So Bart, what is the rest of your week like, sir?
Well, I'm working.
Yes, sadly.
I'm working through Thursday. Friday, I'm off. So
excellent.
I'll be available if you need me.
Okay.
I'll be available if you need me.
Well, like I said,
we've got
golden
tickets soccer to talk about.
It's always soccer.
Yeah, we do.
We'll negotiate your terms once we're through with the Christmas holiday and turn into 2023. So having a regular, I'm going to call it right now. I'm requesting on Soccer's Morning Show a semi-regular Soccer for US POD presence with Bart Keeler.
That'd be awesome.
There you go. All right. Well, then go continue. Go get some lunch. It's 11 o'clock Eastern time. Maybe
Yeah.
some brunch in the future.
I'm gonna go get some breakfast real quick.
So go get some breakfast real quick. We'll catch up with you later this
Yeah.
week.
Thanks, John. Thanks, everyone. Have a great festive week. Hope that
Yes.
you are full of cheese and other sorts of not good for you food by the end of the week.
We like not good food as a rule.
Yeah.
Says Bart Keeler. Bartimus Prime 19, Soccer for USPOD. There goes Bart. He's going to go get brunch, as he should, with his mug. Soccer and do good. All right. So before we go, and thanks for everybody for putting up with me sitting on a floor for the last 3 shows. We'll be, like I said, we'll be back at it normal tomorrow. We'll be back at Office HD and rock and roll from there. So here's your gossip before we go. Cristiano Ronaldo has apparently he has representatives in hotels ready for the Al Nassr deal, and part of it has to do, and we're looking at 3 years, 225, I think is what they're staring at. But they also, meaning the Saudis, they want him to be part of their 2030 bid campaign. So they want him to be a front man for it. So we'll see what happens there. Chelsea considering making a move for Atletico Madrid Joao Felix, which could see him arrive on loan in January, option or obligation to buy. And there you go. Al Nassr scheduled a medical for Cristiano Ronaldo. It's from our friends at CBS Sports. Arsenal, $55 million bid for Shakhtar Donetsk Mikhailo Mudryk. Once again, Shakhtar's looking for more money up front than less money in behind. Dortmund and Jude Bellingham remains Liverpool's main transfer target, despite them getting Cody Gakpo. West Ham boss David Moyes says the club are not just going to roll over and let England's Declan Rice leave in the summer. That's from the 4-letter paper. Ajax have contacted Brentford and Spain goalkeeper David Raya over a potential January move. That would be big for Brentford because then you would have to find a replacement for one of the top keepers in the league this season. Barcelona no longer willing to sell 25-year-old midfielder Frankie de Jong, who was a target for Manchester United. That's from Sport. Everton are among a number of Premier League clubs showing interest in Man U and Sweden winger Anthony Elanga. That's from the 4-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Rafael Leao says he would like to test himself in the Premier League in the future, but now he's 100% focused on AC Milan, RDP Africa, via TalkSport for that one. Brentford, Fulham, and Villa have all made offers for Jean Duran, but Benfica are in pole position to sign the 19-year-old. Chelsea in advanced talks to sign Monaco and France center back Benoit Badiashile, and have submitted an official proposal for the 21-year-old. That's courtesy of our friend Fabrizio Romano. Now let's go into the paper talk from our friends at Sky. But once again, as always, we sit there and letter papers. And that is where we will always warn you, as we did with our friend in Argentina. Once again, less than 4,000 followers, and it would be, frankly, it'd be silly for him to go back to Argentina right now at this point in Thiago Almada's career. Let's see. We get a transfer center in just a little bit. Dean Smith has been sacked by Norwich in the championship after their 2-1 loss at 10-man Luton. Left them 5th in the championship, 12 points off the automatic promotion spot. So we'll keep an eye on that. Also, let's see if we can get into paper talk. All right, so here we go. Man U is prepared to break the transfer record for goalkeeper Diogo Costa. We'll keep an eye on that, but once again, avoiding the 3- and 4-letter papers with our news. Once again, before we go, Daily Telegraph. Jesse Lingard says he still doesn't know why it was frozen out at Manchester United ahead of his return with Nottingham Forest. Our friends at The Athletic. Arsene Wenger, remember, returned to the first time since departing as Arsenal manager back in 2018 yesterday. Chelsea head coach Graham Potter expects to be without at least 7 first-team players as the team tries to kickstart their Premier League workout. Newcastle set to be without John Joe Shelby for another 8 weeks because of his calf injury. Daily Mirror has the Ronaldo medical and the move at $173 million per year, but once again, that is both for image and for playing. So 75 of that is apparently locked into the idea of his play, and the other parts of it are locked into the image idea at $173 million per year. And as we continue to work our way through the other rumors, Leao opened up on his admiration for Arsenal, just as Mikel Arteta promised he can get a striker in the January window. Arsenal could be battling to sign Italian youngster Ibrahima Bamba, who currently plays for Vitória Guimarães in Portugal, along with PSG, Club Brugge, and Atalanta, who are all interested in the 20-year-old. Daily Express, Tottenham's defensive display against Brentford could see them speed up their move for RB Leipzig's Josko Vardiol and Pedro Porro from Sporting Lisbon. Newcastle ready to tempt Barcelona's Memphis Depay into a Premier League return, although he is reportedly keen on staying at the Nou Camp until the end of his contract this summer so he can secure a lucrative signing on fee. In Scotland, the Daily Record, Kilmarnock's January window, plans outlined by Derek McInnes, looks ahead to a big month for the club. Just look for them to get a bunch of guys who will want to stand in place and not really do anything exciting. Celtic have until the end of the season to decide whether to sign Moritz Jens permanently, according to reports. And so that is your look at the papers. And so it's been a wild morning, and that's what Tuesday Thoughts are all about. Now, thanks to Bart Keeler for hanging out. Thanks to Jarrett Smith for hanging out. Thanks to you for hanging out. Remember that there are two Premier League fixtures going on. Yeah, no, but that's the beautiful part of OG. It's you look and you see like all this stuff behind. Wouldn't have known I was on the floor unless I mentioned it. But no, my body's mentioning it to me right now. So I think it's a good time to sit there and thank all of y'all for hanging out. And we'll do it again. If you really want to embrace Team Chaos, bring in Ronaldo for the USMNT. No doubt about it. But we'll be back at it for Wall Pass Wednesday. Whatever's on your mind, we'll talk gifts. We'll talk a whole bunch of stuff. And we'll talk soccer because we'll be back at it. Tomorrow, Prem and Proper returns late in the afternoon. And we'll also catch up with our friends in the afternoon from Cleveland SC, one of the new franchises in the NPSL as well. So for all of us here at SDH, for Bart, for Jason, for Jarrett, for Nick, I'm just John. Played safe, everybody. We'll do it one more time. We'll do it tomorrow, and we won't do it from a floor. Played safe, everybody. Mucha platial. And since it is the end of the show, it means I get to do this. Played safe. We'll be back at it tomorrow.